Hello, welcome back to the James Rambling Reviews for yet another episode. In today's episode, I'm actually going to be reviewing for you a film, because as of late I've not really been talking about enough films on the review show, so I might as well just mix it up by talking about a film. And this film we're going to be talking about tonight is Roadhouse, which came out on Amazon Prime a few months ago, and I watched this a few days ago, and I just gave myself a bit of time to think about it, how I felt about the movie, how I felt about the plot, what I would give it out of 10, and all that good stuff. So there's that, but I'll give you a bit of context. So this movie is actually a remake of a 1989 film called, as you guessed it, Roadhouse. But I've never really seen the original Roadhouse, and that's a bit of context that I have, but there's a little bit more context that I want to give you here, is that this guy, Jake Gyllenhaal, is in this movie. He's a famous actor, but I've seen him in Spider-Man Far From Home, where he plays Mysterio. He's playing this bad guy, and I've seen that on loop a few times. I really did enjoy that movie, and so there's definitely that, but I'll cut to the chase with what this movie is actually about. So as I mentioned, right, Roadhouse is a remake of a 1989 film called Roadhouse, and it's on Amazon Prime. But you've got Jake Gyllenhaal in this movie, you've got Conor McGregor in this movie, and a few other actors in this movie, where Jake Gyllenhaal is this guy who's this ex-UFC fighter. He's this bar dude who's like, he's a bodyguard for this bar called Roadhouse. He has to protect it, and he's in this area where all this crazy stuff is happening, and he's trying to find his way around this city, you know, that kind of stuff, and he wants to make sure that this bar is up to speed. But then little does he know there's going to be a little bit of chaos in this bar, and then it leads to all this stuff kind of happening, a lot of action sequences, a lot of drama in this bar, and stuff like that. So that's what this movie is about. As to how I feel about the film though, right, so Roadhouse, right, it's a 2-hour long film, and I've got to say that I actually really did enjoy this movie. Specifically, for example, I will mention that Jake Gyllenhaal is perhaps the best part of this movie. His charisma, the way he just acts on screen, it's just a fun time when he's on the screen. Don't get me wrong, there is a few actors that are fun to watch in this movie, like some side characters, like the characters that work at the bar and stuff like that, and people who Jake Gyllenhaal gets like more people to help make sure the bar doesn't run into all these fights and all this crazy stuff happening. But he just steals the show. He is this main character, and it's just awesome to see. So there's definitely that, but for a while this movie goes on and on and on, man. And what do I mean by that? So the movie is 2 hours long, as I mentioned, but there's a portion of this movie where it's like 30, 40, 50 minutes are tacking on, and I just want the movie to end. Like, it should have just got a bit more to the point. I could have seen this movie as a 90-minute action flick where it's in and out of the door, we're finished with this movie, it's over and done with. But no, it kind of just tries to set up this big giant plot, and then it turns out that Jake Gyllenhaal has this girlfriend, and then there's this stuff happening, and then this stuff is happening, and then there's this other bad guy that wants to get ownership of the bar, and there's all this stuff happening, and so you're not really leaving it to the point where it's getting to the point and there's like a simple amount of stuff happening. It's trying to do too much for its own good at certain points, and I just want the movie to end. But when Conor McGregor steps onto the screen, I will say that the movie, it does get a bit interesting for me, because, you know, I've not really seen much of Conor McGregor other than in the UFC games that I played, and he's just like, he comes off as this cheesy actor that's clearly never acted in his life, man, because it's his acting debut and he's just a UFC fighter, right? But he just comes off as this generic, bland, cheesy, silly villain, and it's like, yeah, he's in here, and at a certain point in the movie, while it does drag on, it does become kind of fun in the end, where you see these like fun action sequences between Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor, because obviously Conor McGregor is a UFC fighter, so when they were shooting the film, they wanted to make sure how they did the choreography and how they wanted to fight and stuff like that. So that's what's good about Conor McGregor, is he taught Jake Gyllenhaal how to fight, and you could tell Jake Gyllenhaal was preparing for the role, because he was really jacked in the role, and you could see his muscles and all that. So there's that part, but there's just a lot of this movie where after the first hour, I want to say, it just feels like this movie went on for 3.5 hours. Like, I just wanted this movie to end pretty much, and so that's what I would say. This is a very dumb, fun, cheesy action flick that just went on for too long for me. and I would give this movie about a 6 out of 10. That's because if you chop out Jake Gyllenhaal's role in this movie, it's pretty mediocre. And I would say, if like in the next few months, I'm gonna forget I even watched some of this movie, because it just felt very cheesy, very like typical and predictable, and just something I've seen before. And Conor McGregor is just a villain that I'm not going to remember for the rest of my life. I'm gonna be honest with you. So that is kind of my review on Roadhouse that I watched a few days ago. A bit of a mix-up from my usual formula as of recently, so there's definitely that. You probably didn't even expect me to review this, so yeah, Roadhouse 2024, what did you think about? Let me know in the comments below and stuff like that. So yeah, bye, see you for another review on the James Ramblin' Reviews. Bye.